Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on, well, one of the most exhausting yet essential parts of daily life, the invisible masks we wear. And we're not talking about literal face coverings, of course. We're talking about those projected, polished versions of ourselves we use everywhere, in the office, on a first date, and I mean, especially online.
Right.
So our mission today is to really explore that gap, the chasm between who you truly are and who you feel you need to be. We want to measure the psychological cost of that performance.
And figure out how to bridge that gap. But I think it's important for you to understand, right up front, this isn't just a simple discussion about being fake.
No, it's more nuanced than that.
For sure. It's about seeing that these social tools are, well, they're necessary,
Mm.
but they carry a potential danger. The real question is, at what point does the mask stop being a tool you use?
And start becoming the person you are.
Exactly. When does it take over?
That's a huge distinction. So to understand this modern struggle, we really have to go back to the beginning, to the foundational psychological concepts. Where does this idea of a protective mask even start?
Well, it really begins with Carl Jung and his concept of the persona. And you should think of the persona not as a deception, but more like a necessary psychological uniform.
The uniform. I like that.
Yeah, it's the face we present to the world. It's a kind of uh, compromise between who we are inside and what society demands from us. We need it to function.
So it's the behavioral script we learned early on. You put on the uniform of good student or compliant child to get acceptance.
Precisely. And then the sociologist Erving Goffman, he took that idea and just ran with it. In his 1959 work, he basically said, all of life is a continuous theatrical performance. You are the performer.
Always managing impressions to fit expectations. So when I'm leading a meeting, I'm literally playing the role of leader and I'm adjusting my tone, my body language to fit.
That's it. And that management, it isn't inherently bad or malicious. The mask serves a crucial protective function. It shields the vulnerable, messy interior self.
But the tension starts the moment you forget the self underneath even exists.
That's where the danger lies.
And that tension is just amplified exponentially today, isn't it? If Jung and Goffman were talking about a finite stage, like a boardroom, technology has given us an infinite one.
It really has. Social platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, they aren't just places you visit. They're permanent public stages for your performance.
Which brings us right into self-presentation theory, this continuous conscious act of shaping how people see you through selective sharing.
We're all constantly optimizing our digital selves, presenting the highlight reel.
And we all know that comes with a real tangible cost. I mean, the research backs this up completely. There was a 2020 study from the University of Pennsylvania that looked at this specifically.
Right. And the findings are, well, they're a profound irony. The more effort people put into that perfect digital performance, the more they reported two things: lower authentic self-expression in their real lives,
Yeah, higher social anxiety.
higher social anxiety. You post to connect, but the perfection it demands just drives you further into disconnection and nervousness.
That just sounds like chronic exhaustion. It's the energy cost of being someone you're not all the time.
And that energy drain, it shows up as emotional dissonance. It's that exhausting tension between your public image and your private truth.
Okay, so give me an example.
Think about the person who just got a massive promotion but is privately terrified they're going to fail. They have to project confidence, and that fight between the outer performance and the inner fear creates this exhausting internal...
A crack, like an internal crack.
That's the perfect word for it, yeah. And it's why "I'm fine" is so often a mask for deep exhaustion or fear or loneliness. The mask is actively fighting the self.
When you put it that way, authenticity stops being this lofty idea and starts feeling like, I don't know, a requirement for mental survival.
It really is.
So if that fractured "I'm fine," isn't it, what does authenticity actually look like? Does it just mean we stop filtering and say every chaotic thing that pops into our heads?
No, not at all. That's a huge misconception. Academics Brian Goldman and Michael Kernis defined it as the unobstructed operation of one's true self in daily life. It's not chaos, it's congruence.
Congruence, so alignment.
It's total alignment. When your internal beliefs and your emotions line up with your external actions, the struggle just subsides. And people who operate from that space, they report higher self-esteem, way less anxiety, and more stable relationships.
But I want to push on this idea of a true self for a second, because if we're constantly growing and changing, isn't that true self kind of a moving target?
That's a brilliant point, because the nuance is everything. Authenticity isn't about finding some static true you and freezing it in time. It's about becoming yourself continuously.
Okay, so it's more of a process.
It's absolutely a process. It means making choices that align with your deepest current values and being open to admitting when you've made a mistake. It is a balance between self-expression and, empathy and tact.
So if the benefits are so clearless, anxiety, higher self-esteem, why do we resist it so much? Why do we cling to the mask? I mean, the simple answer has to be fear.
It's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, and fundamentally fear of being vulnerable. We
Yeah.
see this play out every single day in the workplace. A Harvard Business Review analysis from a few years back looked at two types of workplace performance.
Let's get into those because they illustrate the cost so well.
The first is what they call surface acting. This is where you suppress your real personality to conform. You smile when you're furious, you pretend to get the jargon.
That sounds exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
The research linked it directly to higher burnout and lower job satisfaction. You're just spending all your mental resources policing your own emotions.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
The second type is deep acting. This is where you actively work to align your role with your genuine values. You find the real passion in the job and lead from there. And this was linked to stronger motivation and much better connection with colleagues.
So the mask stops being a suppression tool and becomes more of an extension of your purpose.
Exactly. And the strongest defense that mask offers is against shame.
Brene Brown's territory.
Yes. She defines shame as that deep-seated fear that you're not enough. Shame drives disconnection. The mask is how we try to hide what we think is our inadequacy. And as she says, authenticity requires vulnerability.
And we have to remember, this isn't just an individual problem. The sources are clear that these masks are also deeply cultural.
They absolutely are. The psychologist Hazel Marcus explored this. In many Western cultures, the mandate is be yourself. So the cultural mask can actually be an excessive focus on individuality.
So we're wearing a mask of individuality to hide that we actually want to belong.
You got it. And conversely, in many collectivist societies, the emphasis is on harmony and duty. So the mask is about self-effacement. Don't stand out. Both can hide your personal truth.
And it's not just individuals. Companies do this. Brands wear these collective masks of success, often hiding systemic flaws.
It's the courage to be transparent about your intentions and your impact, whether you're a person or an entire organization.
Okay, so we've mapped the origins, the modern costs, the barriers. Let's give our listeners some tools. If someone's ready to start chipping away at these masks, what are the 5 actionable steps the sources recommend?
Step 1 is to practice radical self-awareness.
Just notice the performance.
In real time. The moment you feel that tension, you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to protect right now? Just noticing is the first act of honesty.
Okay, step 2. Reconnect with your intrinsic values.
Yes, according to self-determination theory, acting from your internal motivators is what prevents burnout. You're acting because you want to, not because you feel you have to.
Step 3, and this is the scary one, cultivate vulnerability.
But the advice is to start small and selectively. Share a tiny, truthful discomfort with a friend you trust, or even just in a journal. Each small act of honesty disarms the mask's power.
Step 4 is to lead with integrity. And this applies to everyone, not just CEOs.
Absolutely. Research from Cornell shows that authentic leadership, where you act from your core values, predicts stronger team cohesion and better performance. Integrity drives results.
And finally, step 5, allow evolution.
Right. Remember, authenticity isn't static. The goal is to stay real to who you are now as you grow, rather than feeling stuck maintaining yesterday's persona.
So this whole deep dive really shows that masks are necessary navigation tools, but they become toxic the second we let the performance master the self.
Exactly. The takeaway for you, our listener, isn't to strip away every single layer. Some masks are just healthy boundaries. It's about learning which ones serve you and which ones stop you from seeing yourself clearly.
And we want to leave you with one final, powerful thought. The search for authenticity is maybe not about becoming someone new, but about, quote, remembering who you were before the world told you who you had to be.
So we challenge you to take that idea and put it into practice. Think of just one area this week where you can afford to drop a protective mask. What would it look like to bring just a little more of your true self into that space?
Thank you for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.